Good afternoon, everybody. How are we today? Today, we are going to be writing a fight action scenes. So if you're a writer and you want any tips or tricks on writing fights, then feel free to ask questions and I will do my best to answer them. So, let's jump into the live scene. There we go. Right, this is yesterday's. I haven't posted yesterday's. Truth be told, yesterday I wasn't feeling too bright. And I didn't really do much yesterday other than the live stream. So, I've still got it. I've got it uploaded. It is on YouTube. If you want to see yesterday's episode, but the write-up isn't done yet. It will hopefully go up along with this one. Hopefully tonight we should be caught up. It's going to be a little bit easier when next week we go to a weekly cadence for these episodes. Doing it daily has been a little bit of a challenge, but a good one. One I've had fun doing. But we needed it to get the story going. So, we made some notes for ourselves yesterday, if you remember. We've now got a little bit of a flow going on the story, so we can make notes. We've made notes for ourselves for chapter 7, mutation time. I'm just going to put chapter 7, and everything is in a large enough font for you to see. There we go. So, yesterday, we had a discussion where I said that I thought I'd used the wrong point of view for the scene. I think I should have done Freeman instead of Gina. This chapter definitely is Gina. So, at the end of last episode, Gina was starting her mutation. And Freeman being attacked by the ant-like creatures in the portal. So, this scene is purely gonna be action. That's all we're gonna do today. So, right, what do we want to do? Right, so where did we leave it? And where did we start for this? Let's up the stakes from the start. So up in the stakes from the very start. Soldiers protecting. I use colony as with ants. Okay. So you'll notice that I haven't really hung around. This is... It's weird. I always say my worst thing at doing is description. It's static description. Action, I can write. One of the things my agent always says to me is that I can write really good action. So, what I want you to do, if you're going to be writing action, what I want you to think of is we want to elevate, effectively, we want to elevate the reader's heart rate. How do you do that? Right, and I think the easiest way to describe it, although it's not, it depends what you write, is length of sentence. So we're getting the big sentences out the way, but we're doing it in quite a rush, right? So we just put from out of the dark corners of the cave, scuttled. I didn't even spell that right. Scuttled a host of the ant-like creatures. We didn't say, oh, well, there was some noise and there was some movement in the dark. If we were doing a slower pace chapter, we might say that. We just hit the reader with it. Nope. Loads of these ant creatures just scuttled out of the dark corners of the cave. The soldiers guarding Jaina and the others stepped forward, spears raised, to meet the colony as they flooded out the tear and into the audience room. It's a long sentence, but it pretty much says a lot. It wasn't like there's no discussion with the soldiers going, oh, should we step forward? Should we not? No, they've done the action. They've gone straight ahead and done it. So instantly, we have a picture of what's going on. We've moved that in one paragraph. We've pretty much done quite a bit. So we've gone from the static to the active. And what you want to do when you write action, when it becomes fast-paced, if shit's going down, basically, what happens is what tends to happen is you tend to focus on the important things. Your brain filters out everything else. That's why people say, oh, it went by in a blur. So what you want to do is kind of reduce the narrative down. This is maybe why I can write action quite well, because I can... You've got an excuse for leaving out all the description. Let's just get everybody into it. We're just going to try and place everybody. I don't want to say exploded shoulders. The dead sword. Fallen comrades, maybe. Do I want to put about drawing spears and swords? No. I do want to say something about I was about to say, and battle ensued. No, we don't need to do that. Let's keep it. Gina screamed she felt her flesh. Right, now, what is going to be her mutation? The others are going to get it as well. How's it going to help them? What would be good for clearing ants? I don't want to kind of go a little bit, you know, it's tempting to go, oh, let's have a mutation that solves the problem. Let's not have a mutation that solves the problem, but that helps. Oh, what can we do that's a little bit different? There we go. Let's give her an extra arm, but it's wooden. Let's just try that. Take it easy. Take it easy. Take it easy. So she's crying, I don't want to explode, because we've got to make them think that they're going to explode. So we're going for a little bit. We're just going to do the mutation first. Don't leave me, she thought as she sobbed. Don't glance her, so... There we go. Gina caught sight of something coming over her shoulder. I'm giving her a Groot arm with a bit more flesh. I don't. I think I'm gonna have to do of what look like. What? It grew bones of what looked like wood, sprouted skin that's. So, okay, so what we've just done is we've done the mutation. We need to go back to the. Uh, Crap, like the rest of them. Okay. So remember what yesterday we did this layering thing where we kind of like, you know, did one story and laid it up. I'm layering the ant story while I'm kind of... There. This is the wrong sentence. I'm going to do the breath that she'd been holding through the pain. Back to the ants. Need to keep that threat going. Lots of sort of sound of skittering, clackering, clacking. Back and forth. Oh no, I want to... So we're doing a little thing, lumps growing and pulsing, but that's kind of what we have with this kind of mutation thing. So we've upped the stakes here a little bit. So like literally they're all mutating. Okay. Cool. So okay. So we're constantly building the stakes here. We're getting bigger and bigger and bigger. We kind of also we're feeding in this like, you know, she's had her mutation. That's kind of weird. The ants are swarming in. They get more. They're starting to overpower the soldiers, upping the stakes little by little. Something I need to establish is that the strength of those. Um, Change flick to slammed. Better. So Freeman's there. He's still fighting. Again, it's this kind of waves, you know, like we've up in the States, they're too strong, keep fighting. Now we've kind of up the thing, we pull it back down, up. So just establishing, you know, I did put here, the soldiers can defeat them. We don't want to think they're immovable obs, they're just challenging obs. So this is where we're going to turn the tides a little bit. I need a little bit of thought first. So she... Not through exploding it either. I'm getting to the... This is... What I'm doing here is I'm kind of upping the emotional stakes before I turn the tables. She's only got one hand. Huge hand. So the huge hand. I think right through. Squeezed and the head exploded like spoilt fruit. trying to also need to establish that the soldiers, like, they haven't seen the people that exploded. This didn't happen. So I'm slowly building all of them up. Okay. Let's do something a little bit different. Let's put some Quentin in here. See, there's a little bit of space. Put it in there. There. I'm going to put some. Because they still come after them. I've also changed it so that it's not all of them and it's more Gina's. So I've put a rat bag. If it was Drummond, I might put like arsehole or something like that. But I just think that rat bag is a little bit more of a kind of Gina-ism. Isn't it? You need a name, group name, like the Fellowship or something like that. Not the Fellowship, because that's the... I was going to say Gina was having fun, but that's not the right phrase to use. It's like being covered in black ink or... So, here's something I would normally do. I was just considering this as I was writing. I'd be normally very, very tempted to now bring in like a queen or like have it up the stakes. However, I am aware we're going actually quite fast through this. That in terms of the number of words, it would push things through a little bit too much. Like in terms of word count, it's going well at the moment. I can't guarantee that the next 1,000 words gonna get another 1,000 words will go as quick. So what I'm gonna do is not do that. But if I was writing a novel, I definitely would. And I need to take a quick break for toilet. I need a bio break. I am going to be 2 minutes. So I'm going to think about this and I'll be back. 1 second. I won't be long. I won't be. Sorry. Right. It doesn't really matter how many. One of the things I'm really bad at is sizes. So how much would 100 ants take up in terms of the room? I get my scalings all wrong. So literally I'll have a set space and then the things I put inside that space don't actually fit. That's just one of the things I always do, and it's something I need to always go over when I do like revisions. Covered in ichor and he wasn't moving. I felt sure he was dead, but yeah. I was going to say what the hell happened to you, but we're going to use it. The moon happened to you. Something to when we go back and read is whether to make sure that that hand and that arm seems slightly over. Gina's jubilation at having defeated the ant creatures caused her to forget that she was destined to explode. So let's have a little bit of fun with I'm gonna make that Gina because we need to make this sense. I'm going into the next. Okay. I am actually going to leave that there, because the next chapter is what the fuck happened. So I'm just going to put some notes. So we need to talk about what the arms and dust. We need to... We basically explain it. Not exploding. We need to talk about the crystal. Riches. And action. I'm gonna put, do we do a repeat? Do we get somebody to... So normally I would be potentially going straight on to the next chapter. I'd be like, I'm gonna roll. So I'm just making notes for myself here while it's fresh in my mind. I've still got to go back and think. So we need to... MacArthur was going to work out what happens. The arms in the dust, what happens with that? We've got to establish that they don't explode. He has to work out that the crystal caused that. It explains why the orb only worked for Jax. They need to try again, but somebody needs to say, no, don't do that here. We've already... Look, what happens if we get more ants? So what do we do with this room? Because there could be more ants in the future, things like that. Repeat of eating. These are all notes to myself, so they might not make sense, but do they get one person says, I'll try eating again, see if it happens again. Drummond, probably. There's riches there to be got, and the plan of action, which leads us into we need to do again, because look at all these riches. So that is that. So let's go through mutation time. It's gone very quick today. So from out of the dark corners of the cave scuttled a host of the ant-like creatures. The soldiers guarding Gina and the others stepped forwards, spears raised, to meet the colony as they flooded out of the tear and into the audience room. They were joined by the soldiers who'd been looking over the bodies of their fallen comrades. Led Quentin and MacArthur backed away. Gina screamed as she felt her flesh tear. But I'm bothered by that. And that's because it relates to the ants and maybe not the soldiers. Gina screamed as she felt her flesh tear, but it was drowned out by the shouts as ant met soldier. Take it easy, said Red, looking over her. I don't want to explode, she cried. Something's growing out of her, Drummond said. Gina watched as both Red and Drummond stepped back. Don't leave me, she thought as she sobbed. She could feel something pushing out of her shoulder where the lump had been. Folks, she heard Jack say, what is that? Gina caught sight of something coming over her shoulder from the corner of her eye. It looked like an arm. It grew, bones of what looked like bones that resembled. Bones that resembled wood, sprouting skin it, which spread and covered the appendage. Put giant in there, I want to get it oversized. Twigs became fingers as the appendage grew. The limb grew into a huge third arm. What the fuck? Fred exclaimed, clearly troubled by the sight. Pain eased as Gina imagined herself flexing the fingers on her extra hand. And to her amazement, they moved. That, said Drummond, is some fucked up shit. Ants continued. Whether we use... Do we use normal swearing? We do. We use a little bit of Moonfather. Ants continued to flood into the room. The soldiers beat them back with spear and sword, but they were massively outnumbered. Stop them, Led, Quentin shouted from the back of the room. The tear stood between him and the only doors out of the... I've got room and room. I'm maybe going to get... I know it's the audience room, but I'm going to search. Or I could have room there. Lord Quentin. Stop them, Lord Quentin shouted from the back of the chamber. The tear stood between him and the only doors out of the audience room. He was trapped like the rest of them. Red, said Jax. Gina knew when he sounded worry. She could hear in his voice. Me too, said Drummond. Gina glanced up, trying to catch the breath had been holding through the pain. Drummond and Jax were looking at each other's backs. Each had a very visible lump on the shoulder. The ants overpowered one soldier, pulling him down into their masses by his ankles. He screamed as they swarmed over him, mandibles clacking. Drummond dropped to his knees, his teeth gritted as the pain Gina had just felt surged through him. At least he now knew she wasn't making it up. Another soldier lost a spear as a pair of mandibles tore it from his hands. He tried to fight it with his bare fists, but his hits just seemed to bounce off the carapace of the creature. He too went down shortly afterwards. There was now no one standing between the growing colony and Gina. She looked behind her to see Marley fall to the floor, yelling as the lump on her back of her shoulder. On her shoulder. The shoulder grew and pulsed. Jax was cold in a ball, crying. Red was screaming. Even Drummond was on his knees, failing to fight against the pain. That left only her. An ant came charging at Gina. She screamed as the mandibles clacked at her head. 10 minutes ago, she was worried about exploding. Now she was about to die to an oversized ant. A soldier came running over, sword in hand, trying to save her, but the creature slammed its head into him and sent him flying. They're too strong, one soldier cried out. Keep fighting, came Freeman's voice from inside the cave. The soldiers weren't entirely defenseless. Spears were able to thrust through the carapace, and swords cleaved the ants in two, but for every one they took down, two more appeared. Gina tried to edge backwards as mandibles snapped at her head. She screamed, but it was lost among the sound of battle. She didn't want to die, not like this, not through exploding either. But if she was going to go, she'd at least give her friends a fighting chance. She instinctively reached out with her new knit limb, the huge hand grabbing the ant's head as the pincers continued to clack. She squeezed and the head exploded like spoilt fruit. Black ichor was thrown over her. Gross. Another ant came her. She punched it and sent it flying across the room. And another which she squashed flat with a hammer punch. Behind her, Jack stood up and flexed the finger of his new third limb. Gross, he said, watching the flesh finish covering his fingers. But cool. Protect the others, Gina's instructed. She grabbed another ant by a mandible and slammed it into the ground, breaking its back. Jax stepped forwards and grabbed an ant off of a fallen soldier. The soldier looked in horror at Jax. Just stab the thing, Jax shouted. The soldier snapped to, grabbed their fallen spear and finished the creature. Gina saw another ant fly across the room and splat in a massive back kicker against the wall. She turned to see Drummond admiring his new fist. "Oh, this is going to be fun," he said. He was joined by Red. "What is this?" he said, looking at his hand opening and closing on command. "Don't question it," Drummond replied. "Just punch your way out of here." "Please," Led Quentin called from the back of the room where he cowered with MacArthur. While the soldiers backed towards him. "Save me and I'll grant your freedom." "Leave him," Drummond said to Red. "No," came Marley's command as she rose to her feet. "Save the soldiers, protect everyone." There was no debate. Some of these soldiers had been Gina's friends when she'd lived on the estate. It wasn't their fault that they had to protect a rat bag like Quentin. The group moved forward. Gina and her friends moved forward. Sensing the threat, the ants turned their attention from the soldiers to meeting them. But they were no match. Before they could get close, a huge arm had either crushed, pummeled, or thrown them. Despite being covered in black ichor, Gina... I don't need to say black all the time, so just say in ichor. Gina felt better than she ever had. She'd never been the most powerful person in this group, but with her new limb, she felt invincible. The tide slowly turned, with Gina and her friends approaching from one side and the soldiers armed with spears and swords approaching from the other. The ants had no choice but to slowly retreat. Step by step, both groups pushed the colony back towards the tear, then back into. Their numbers thinning. "I think we're winning," Red said. 100 became 50, became 20, until with a final punch from Drummond that knocked the head off an ant clean off. There were none. Red stepped into the tear and ran over to where Freeman lay, covered in ichor and insect parts. Gina noticed he wasn't moving, felt sure he was dead, but he opened one eye, looked at Red and said, What the moon happened to you?" Red flexed the fingers of his new oversized hand. "I ate the fruit," he said. Gina's jubilation at having defeated the ant creatures had caused her to temporarily forget that she was destined to explode. Victory turned to defeat. She wondered how it would happen. Would it be slow and painful like when she grew her new limb? Or would it be sudden and painless? She hoped the latter. Freeman coughed weakly and nodded to where on the other side of the tear the remains of the soldiers had laid. Where the remains of the soldiers had laid. "Never happened to my guys," he said. "Easy," Red replied, pointing to the red mixed with the black that coated the soldier. "You're alive, but still badly injured." "Someone called Marley," shouted the soldiers. When none of them seemed to take the initiative, she pointed at one and said, "You." "And seize them," Quentin called from the back of the room. "You promised us our freedom, remember?" Gina shouted back. As if making a point, she raised her new limb and made a fist with her hand. "Easy, Gina," Marley said, resting her regular hand on her free shoulder. "It's been enough fighting." Her regular hands on the girl's free shoulder. "It's been enough fighting." Marley looked from her to Quentin. "But unless you want to lose face in front of your soldiers," she hissed, "I suggest you honour our agreement." The soldiers were clearly unnerved by her friend's transformation. But they also knew that those transformations had saved most of their lives. Around them were a couple of reminders of what had happened to what would have happened to them had they not. Okay, read that again. The soldiers were clearly unnerved by her friend's transformations. right by her friend's transformations, but they also knew that those transformations had saved most of their lives. Around them were a couple of reminders of what would have happened to them had they not. Quentin huffed. Very well, he said. A promise is a promise, I guess. It was just as well as he said that as Gina began to feel a weakness in her new arm. She watched in horror as it began to blacken. She glanced over to the others and saw theirs doing the same. A finger fell off her hand and was dust before it even hit the floor. What's happening? She asked Marley as an entire arm crumbled to dust. So that is going to be our chapter. And we've done it incredibly quick today. But that's good. Give me time to... Oh, this was a bit here, didn't I? I marked this up, so I was going to go back to this. So these two paragraphs here. From out of the dark corners of the cave scuttled a host of the ant-like creatures. The soldiers guarding Gina and the others... stepped forward, spears raised, to meet the colony as they flooded out the tear and into the audience room. The soldiers guarding Gina and her friends stepped forwards, spears raised, to meet the colony as they flooded out the tear and into the audience room. They were joined by their comrades who'd been looking over. I think by... Oh no, it's fallen comrades there. They were joined by... Soldiers guarding Gina and her friends stepped forwards, raising spears raised to meet the colony as they flooded out the tear and into the audience rooms. Destroyed by the soldiers were joined by their comrades who'd been looking over the bodies of those that had exploded. That will probably work. Sometimes what you need to do is you need to kind of just highlight something and then come back to it. If it's giving you bother, like literally use a marker, like a digital marker pen. Because most word processors will have markup. Just highlight it so that you come back to it. So we are going to have that as our chapter. So I will probably give it one more read as I put it up. But this will be chapter 7. That's the plan. And then tomorrow, we've got quite a detailed plan. It's basically what happens. So it's the aftermath of the fight. So... there we go. I think that will do for today. I don't know why this light... playing with this ring light. I don't know. Right, okay. So with that, we're going to finish early today. As I say, unfortunately, what's going to happen is these are going to last as long as the chapters. It's as long as yesterday's. So we are going about the sort of 1,200, 1,500. We're around 1,500. So with that said, I am going to end the stream. and we'll come back tomorrow for chapter 8 for the aftermath. So thank you very much for joining, and I will be back tomorrow for yet another episode of the first draft. If you have any comments, questions, let me know on my socials, get in contact, come back and get involved tomorrow. Cheers then. Have a great night, everybody.